Touchdown, Chargers! Welcome to Chargers Daily. I'm Fun Bobby. Welcome back, Bolt family. You know we're back, and you know what we do here on Chargers Daily when we start the show. We hit the subscribe button. We smash the like button. Let's freaking go with today's news. The only show where the off-season gets wilder than the Artemis 2 astronauts casually breaking the Apollo 13 distance record while looping around the moon like it's their neighborhood cul-de-sac. And NASA announces it with the same energy as a dad saying, hey kids, we're stopping for gas, even though 4 humans are now further from Earth than anyone in history, floating out there calmer than a guy who's already had 2 Easter morning mimosas before the egg hunt even starts, and somehow still looking more composed than the Chargers' offensive line did in 2025. We've got a loaded show today. Trade scenarios, reunion rumors, draft sleepers, and top 30 visits. And if you're sipping something while listening to this, pace yourself, because this rundown is about to hit harder than a defensive end who just found out that his contract is incentive-based, okay? Let's freaking go into segment 1, Operation Steal a Falcon and Fix the Trenches, okay? You're going to love this one. Let's kick this off with a trade scenario that's Hortiz, let's just put it this way. Hortiz should be chasing this so badly because it is so spicy it would come with a warning label. The Chargers, imagine this, sending Quentin Johnson to the Atlanta Falcons in exchange for Chris Lindström, one of the best guards in football. And I'm not talking pretty good or solid starter. I'm talking about a man who put up an 88.4 PFF grade in 2025. The second amongst all 81 qualified guards with a 91.7 run block grade that basically says, I move people for a living. And he's got a snap count of 1,086, which means he was out there more than the bartender who works every shift because the owner forgot to hire help. Lindström allowed 1 sack, 8 hits, and 44 pressures across the entire season. And he did it while playing exclusively at right guard, where he logged all 1,086 snaps. He's a trench technician with all pro honors in 2022 and 2023, Pro Bowls in both years, and a resume that reads like a guy who blocks out the freaking sun. Why would the Chargers consider this? Why would they move Quentin Johnson? Listen, the bigger question is, why would the Falcons consider this? But they've got depth. Listen, the wide receiver room with the Chargers is crowded like a bar on half-price margarita night. Ladd McConkey is wide receiver 1. We got Trey Harris and Keandre Lambert-Smith, and they're pushing for real snaps and developing. And you got Johnston entering the final year of his rookie deal with a cap hit of mid $4 million range. He's 25, big-bodied, cheap, and still full of potential upside. But the Chargers have a bigger need than a WR3 or WR2, wherever he winds up landing. Because listen, we still don't know what's going to happen with Keenan. They need someone who can keep Justin Herbert upright long enough to finish a freaking sentence, okay? They lost Zion Johnson to the Browns. Bradley Bozeman retired. Mekhi Becton was cut. Mekhi Becton was cut. I love it when I say it that way. And Tyler Biadasz and Cole Strange, they help, but the left guard spot is still emptier than a bar glass after playing the drinking game that every time Herbert gets pressured, you take a drink. Meanwhile, the Falcons have the offensive line depth to survive losing Lindström. They've got Jake Matthews, Matthew Bergeron, Ryan Newsel, Caleb McGarry, and depth pieces like Andrew Stuber, Kyle Hinton, and Corey Levin. They need a wide receiver 2 behind Drake London, and Johnston's size and contested catch profile fit perfectly, assuming he catches the ball. Straight up, the trade favors Atlanta slightly, which is why the Chargers would need to toss in, let's say, a 2026 fifth rounder. It's not like a tequila shot overpay, but it's more like tipping the bartender so they remember your name the next time you come in. And speaking of names, this trade is like Ryan Seacrest's career. Lindström is the guy hosting everything in the trenches. He's your run game host, your pass pro host, your don't get Herbert killed host. Johnston's like adding one more show to Seacrest's schedule. It's like great, but at some point you realize the man has 47 jobs. If this deal ever went down, Chargers fans would be ordering Lindström lagers and toasting every third and second where Herbert actually hands off instead of running for his freaking life. And with that, let's freaking pivot from stealing a Falcon to bringing back old friends. Because sometimes the best off-season move isn't a trade, it's a reunion tour. Could Kyle Van Noy be our boy once again? Kyle Van Noy and the case of the returning sack wizard, okay? KVN is the NFL version of that friend who leaves the bar, says goodnight, and then somehow shows back up 45 minutes later with a fresh drink and a better story. And according to Bolt Beat, he's open to a Chargers reunion. Let's talk about what that actually means. Van Noy played for the Chargers in 2022, putting up 5 sacks and 39 tackles. Then he went to Baltimore and aged like a bourbon in an oak barrel. In 2023, he posted 9 sacks. In 2024, he exploded for 12.5 sacks, 39 tackles, and 2 forced fumbles. In 2025, he added 2 more sacks, 43 tackles, and he kept showing he can still drop, still set an edge, still blitz, still lead, and still ruin a quarterback's night. He's basically the pass rush version of that bartender who remembers your order from 3 years ago and still pours it perfectly. The Chargers need him. They re-signed Mack, they have Thule, but they lost Oweh to freaking Washington, and they need a third rusher who can win on key downs. And Van Noy is that type of guy. He's not a 60-snap player anymore, but he's a high-leverage weapon who can play multiple alignments and bring a veteran presence to a young room. Bringing him back would be like TMZ paparazzi outside a celebrity restaurant. You don't see him every second, but when the big moment hits, boom, there he is in the backfield with a sack and a forced fumble. He's not the star of the show, but he's the guy who makes every ending unforgettable, okay? Defensive coordinators love guys like Van Noy because it's the way that bartenders love bitters. You only need a few drops, but suddenly the whole cocktail tastes elite, okay? Let's shift now to talk about some more veterans. Let's call it a veteran bourbon to draft day whiskey flights because the Chargers might find a hidden gem in the trenches. Let's talk about Wyoming guard Kaden Barnett, a man built like he was carved out of a mountain and then taught to block. PFF gives him a 71.3 overall grade in 25, ranking 65th out of 686 guards. His 73.2 run block grade ranks 44th, and 65.8 pass block grade ranks 408. He played 792 snaps, allowed 18 pressures, 1 sack, 6 hits, and he committed 4 penalties. He played 755 snaps at right guard with a sprinkle of tackle and even 5 snaps at tight end, which is hilarious because that means someone looked at him and said, yeah, let's put the 320-pound man in space. Barnett's highest graded game was a 90.2 against Air Force in 2024. His lowest was 46.3 against Colorado State in 23. But look, he's powerful, he's physical, he's a people mover, and he fits perfectly in a downhill run scheme. He's not a polished pass protector yet, but he's the kind of developmental guard who becomes a fan favorite because he plays like he's trying to block out the freaking sun. Drafting Barnett would be like ordering Chinese food, cracking open the fortune cookie first, and actually playing the lottery numbers before you eat the food. You're not banking the whole night on it, but if those numbers hit, you look like a genius who just turned takeout into a freaking retirement plan. Barnett is that mid-round guard equivalent of a strong house whiskey. Maybe not the flashy imported bottle, but if you age it in the right system, suddenly everybody's asking for another pour, okay? And let's close this out with a pass rusher who hits like a freight train and just visited the Chargers. Gabe Jacus, okay? Could he make the Chargers another three-headed monster? I mean, he's the edge rusher who eats double teams for breakfast, okay? He's 6'4", 260 pounds, with 33-inch arms, 10-inch hands, and a playing style that feels like someone strapped a jet engine to a sledgehammer. The Chargers hosted him on a top 30 visit, and Yahoo Sports confirms he's rising fast. Let's talk production. In 2025, he posted 35 tackles, 5 TFLs, and 4 sacks. In 23, he added 31 tackles and 4 sacks. And in 24, he exploded for 74 tackles, 13 TFLs, 8 sacks, and 3 forced fumbles. In 2025, he delivered 43 tackles, 13 and a half TFLs, 11 sacks, and 3 forced fumbles, earning second team All Big Ten honors. His career totals, 183 tackles and 35 and a half tackles for a loss. NFL.com calls him rugged, physical, and powerful. He's a team captain. He's not twitchy, but he's violent, disciplined, and built to bully tackles. He uses a bend and rip move, a violent chop, and a pocket vacuum counter, okay? He's more steak than sizzle, but the steak is cooked perfectly. Adding Jacus to Mac and Thule would be like discovering the show The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives for the first time. You thought things were already dramatic, and then suddenly there's a whole extra layer of plot twists coming off the edge you didn't see coming. If Jacus hits the ceiling, the pass rush could feel like the Dodgers deciding, you know what, let's just win the next 6 World Series in a row. It's not what happened, but it's the kind of overconfident, we're always in your face energy that this front could bring, okay? And I just want to tell everyone, thanks again for always watching. This brings us home like a capsule splashing down off the coast of California, okay? We traded wide receivers for all pro guards. We brought Kyle Van Noy back like a boomerang with a sack total. We drafted a depth guard off of a fortune cookie, and we invited Gabe Jacus to turn our edge room into a pass rush speakeasy. This whole episode has been like ordering 1 drink and getting 4. Lindström on the rocks, Van Noy neat, Barnett as the house pour, and Jacus as the surprise shot the bartender swears is good for team chemistry. And if the Chargers actually pull off even half of this, the only thing wilder than the Artemis II flying farther from the earth than any humans in history will be Justin Herbert standing behind a real offensive line, looking so clean in the pocket that it actually gets a commercial for Hot Pockets. Until next time, this is Chargers Daily. Tip your linemen, draft responsibly, and remember, in this offense, the only thing that should be under pressure is the opposing freaking quarterback. Take it easy, and I'll see you tomorrow on Chargers Daily.